This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. As of today, 11/10/19, Chad Morris has been fired at the University of Arkansas. Let's talk about it. Well, for those of you who have been following along, this was coming down the road. I think a lot of people obviously watched my post-game video, the walk and talk, and just kind of let out a lot of frustration that I think a lot of Razorback fans have felt. Now, Arkansas didn't have a choice here, and I hate that it didn't work out for Chad Morris, but I just think this thing kind of started from the very beginning with this team just being completely lost and divided. I think it was a mistake the way the staff was hired with. You had all these defensive guys who were just kind of separate that hadn't really worked with anybody on the offensive side. I think there's been division. I definitely don't think John Chavis and some of the defensive coaches have been holding their water. I mean, he's $1.5 million coach, and they have the worst defense in the country possibly. So I think there's been a lot of division. I just don't think they ever unified under Chad Morris. Before we dive into this too deep, I want to remind everybody there's plenty of ways to watch and listen. HawgSports.com. Always streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube. Going to upload on that right after. Be sure to follow the page on Facebook Live, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and hit the notifications bell on YouTube so you're notified anytime we upload a new video. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, just anywhere you're going to find podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review and a rating. Right now at HawgSports.com, if you want to follow this coaching search, kind of like we did last time when we guided you all the way down the path of what was happening, all the way to breaking the news that Chad Morris was the hire. Same deal with basketball. I'm not saying we're going to break the hire this time or anything like that, but we did last time, and we're certainly going to guide you along with reliable information as we always have. There's not a better time to sign up at HawgSports than right now. 2 months for $1 right now. Sign up at HawgSports. There's no promo code or anything. Just select the monthly option, and you can get the site for 2 months for $1. That breaks down to 1.6 cents a day, 50 cents a month for your number one insider source on the Razorbacks. So, crazy things happening right now with Arkansas football. And as I was saying, there's just been too much division. They're losing money. I mean, it was an announced crowd of 42,000. That's the worst crowd I've ever seen in Fayetteville. And it's not just the money on tickets, but it's also concessions and stuff. There was not 42,000 people in there. It was exaggerated anyway, and there certainly wasn't for a long time. I don't blame Razorback fans for not coming, but I know that the activity and the interest from Razorback fans is high. I mean, your phone's blowing up right now. Everybody's talking about what's next, what's going to happen. Our traffic has been insane. Our signups have been insane. I mean, and I think part of it's due to that promo. So take advantage of that if you haven't already. But yeah, I just think the players never bought in and fought for him. And as I was saying yesterday, the players believed in Bobby Petrino. They may not have liked him, but they believed in him. They liked Houston Nutt. They believed in him. The players believed in Bielema. I mean, he kind of dug his own grave there at the end, but the players would actually fight. And that you never got that from Chad. And we can talk about the reasons why they lose some of these SEC games, but there's just no reason to lose to San Jose State, to Western Kentucky. I mean, these games, and the Kentucky game was so winnable right there. You used to be able to say stuff like, well, at least there's Tennessee out there, but not anymore. It's Arkansas all alone at the bottom when you compare all the other 8 coaches that took over for fired coaches in Power 5 in December of 2017. All of them are easily exceeding what Chad has done at Arkansas. The thing that stinks is they do a lot of things off the field that are really good in terms of recruiting. They have done an exceptional job in recruiting, and especially in the face of the record that they've produced outside on the field. And it stinks to lose that because in all the coaches I've covered, I've never covered a staff before where they just seem to really get it and do things right. Now, I wouldn't say that's true for everybody, but for guys on the offensive side of the ball, you know, Dustin Fry caught a little flack early on, but really has come on strong as a recruiter. We know Justin Stepp. I really hate it for Justin Stepp because that guy balls out on recruiting. I mean, he really gets after it. He does Sam Pittman-esque like stuff in recruiting. I hate it for Barry Lunny, who's going to serve as the interim head coach. These are all things that, you know, we were reporting last night that were going to happen around 10 o'clock this morning. They made it official at 11:02 this morning. But these were all things that were, you know, we were finding out last night were in the works. But, you know, I hate it for Jeff Traylor. I think that guy works. I've made my feelings clear on John Chavis. I just do not feel like maybe he's never coached middle of the road type of talent or something, but I've seen better defenses off of lower talent teams than what Arkansas has right now. I've seen scrappy defenses, teams that'll go out there and fight. And they just weren't fighting for this coaching staff. They just weren't. Some of the things you can read on HawgSports.com right now: Arkansas Razorbacks coaching search hot board version 1.0. We've got our top 10 coaching candidates. This is going to be a long process, guys. We're in this for the long haul. I mean, there's still 2 games to play this season. So there's a lot. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. There's going to be roller coasters, rumors, highs and lows, and depending on how you take it, it can be very fun or very frustrating. But it's going to go like this. You're going to hear a lot of things behind the scenes. So if you want to hear what's going to happen, what's actually happening, and weed out all the trash and all the rumors and stuff, and still ride that roller coaster, then come check us out at HawgSports. You can read right now why I think Arkansas had no choice, our Arkansas Razorbacks coaching search hot board, where it went wrong for Chad Morris from Danny West. That's a free article. Just the overall general fire story. Morris reaction, Arkansas players tweet, information on Morris's buyout, all of that at HawgSports.com. Sevion Morrison is decommitted. It's not going to be the first one. There's going to be change up with the recruiting class. And that's obviously all the reasons for keeping Chad centered around stuff that avoided his record and the results on the field. Everything. Okay, it's what about the recruiting class? You're always going to run into problems with the recruiting class, and it stinks because you really needed to put together a nice recruiting class after this. But people who say this program can never recover, I disagree with you. I pointed out several times the situations at other schools where they have bounced back and have recovered. You just got to get the right coach. And unfortunately, that wasn't Chad Morris. Hunter Yurachek issued his statement at 11:02 this morning. As part of my continued evaluation, first of all, I want to say this. The plan, unless there was some dramatic turnaround here with these last 3 games, the plan was to remove Chad Morris after the Missouri game. That was going to happen, okay? He was basically a dead man walking, okay? Whether he knew that or not, he was a dead man walking. The way they lost this game to Western Kentucky, having Ty Story come in there just expedited the process. They didn't have any choice but to do it after that. You won't find a more unified Razorback fan base than they are right now behind this move by Hunter Yurachek. There's not anybody who wanted him to stay. It just isn't. Hunter Yurachek. As part of my continued evaluation, I have come to the conclusion that a change in leadership is necessary to move our football program forward and in a position for success. It is clear that we have not made progress necessary to compete and win, especially with the Southeastern Conference. Throughout our history in football, as well as with our other sports programs, we have demonstrated that the University of Arkansas is capable of being nationally competitive. Thank you, Hunter. I have no doubt as we move forward, we will identify a head coach that will help lead our program to that benchmark. I want to express my personal and professional regard to Coach Morris and thank him for an investment in the lives of our student athletes. This isn't a time to kick Chad Morris on his way out the door, okay? I genuinely think he worked his tail off, but there's working harder versus working smarter. And, you know, I look at a guy like, you know, we kind of laughed a little bit when Ed Orgeron got the LSU job, but that guy is a part of the team. They are together, you know, they're together. It's all about in-house. There's too much stuff that leaks out, really. But, I mean, those guys believe in him. He's part of them. And whoever the next Arkansas coach is needs to be a part, intertwined in this program. Intertwined with the players, loved by the players, respected, feared. All of those things, or some combination of those things, have to take place for this program to get back on solid footing. Next year is going to be tough. Okay? It's a changeover. I mean, I say that, but a guy like Houston Nutt came in at 2 different programs in Arkansas. Now, he had his flaws, but he came in at Arkansas and Ole Miss and just totally, I mean, they rocketed off the ground that first year because the players bought in. They started to believe. Whatever Houston has got, it would be nice to find somebody like that. Somebody has to come in here and instill some toughness, some accountability, some unity, all of those things. There's too many things that have happened. I'll tell you where I got lost a little bit in this. We're sitting in the press conference room after the Kentucky game, and Trey Schapp asked Chad Morris if this team is fragile, and Chad says, this is a fragile locker room. You turn over the table and throw your drink across the room before you call your football team fragile. I don't care. Just hearing that right there, that was a moment where I was just like, and it took me back to that time with Bobby Petrino after, rest in peace, Garrett Ekman passed away. And it was the LSU game, and a reporter asked Chad Morris, I believe at halftime, said, your team is weak and fragile, yada, yada, something. And Petrino said, we're not weak or fragile, and walked off. That is the answer to that question. Once again, everybody, for those of you just joining, you may see this little icon right here. The 2 months for $1. I think I'm on the right side. Maybe it's this side. 2 months for $1 at HawgSports.com. If you want to follow this coaching search, like everything that's happening, stay involved with insider posters on our premium message board, The Razor's Edge. Get rid of a bunch of the trash. Enjoy the roller coaster that you can only find with a coaching search. It's going to be some highs and lows, people. There are going to be rumors. There's going to be coaches. It's going to be this guy, and then it's not going to be this guy. There's going to be reporters reporting false information. I mean, this kind of stuff just happens. But if you want to follow it, if you want to see what's really going on, take advantage of this offer. 2 months right now for $1 at HawgSports. 50 cents a month breaks down. 1.6 cents a day. We always find that our problem is getting people through the door. And once we do that, they stick with us. Because so many people think that they can get this and that for free, or this and that, or they have some preconceived idea of this is what we offer. But everybody always says, wow, I didn't know it was like this. It's a great community to be a part of. Like-minded Razorback fans will keep it a little bit more civil than most places, although it's hard to say civil with the way the last, man, what did Chad go? 22 games here, 4-18. Not a single Power 5 win. I know what the comments say right now. There's a lot of people coming up with ideas. I think I'm not going to go over everybody in my coaching search hot board, but it will be revised a lot. We'll hear things going up and down. But Mike Norvell, I think, is a guy on a lot of people's minds. So the way this played out last year, and for those of us following the thing, we broke it down every step of the way. From day one, Julie Cromer-Peoples was brought 3 profiles, or requested 3 profiles. They were Gus Malzahn, Chad Morris, and Mike Norvell. Okay? Later on in the process, well deep into it, when basically they were circling around Chad Morris, Mike Leach came into the fold. Name was mentioned. So those are a couple of names. We've got 10 names that we feel would be really, really strong candidates. And then probably, 15 more names just to keep an eye on. That all could be possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities out there. There are a lot of coaches out there doing more with less than Arkansas has been doing. They've got to find somebody that can bring this team together, that can sit down there and pull this locker room together, that can be a part of the locker room, be a part of this team, not division and separation, not this is the defense, this is the offense, this is the old guys, and this is the young guys. It doesn't take a lot to look out there and see that this defense isn't fighting, okay? And I don't mean that as a slam on these players, because players need to be inspired. Yes, they have some accountability, but there's more talent on this team. There's more talent on this team than what you're being led to believe, okay? It's not such a big rebuild that you take a 4-win team and then the next 2 years you win 4 games total. That's not rebuild. You have to have energy, momentum behind you, and there was just none of that. There was no way they could have kept Chad Morris on. Not in this climate, not in today's age. It's tough firing a coach that quick. I would imagine they're going to have I would imagine they've worked out something with his buyout, so maybe some front-loaded guaranteed payout or something, because he still can get a coordinator job. He may want to take some time off, and in fact, I would assume that he would probably take a year off and just get away from it for a little while, because I think he's probably beaten down pretty well right now. Again, I don't think for Chad Morris, I don't think it was a lack of work and effort. Sometimes things just don't jive, and this one didn't. There are other things on this staff where I do think I've been less than impressed with John Chavis. And I fully respect everything he's done in his 42-year coaching career, but I've not been impressed with what he's done at Arkansas. Nobody who has. It's the worst defense in the country at $1.5 million a year. Mike Leach, Norvell, Josh David. I don't understand why they wouldn't try Les Miles. I'll tell you what, Kagan Gilliam. Les Miles right now would bring Kansas into Fayetteville and wallop Arkansas in year one. And this is a program that has not had a winning season since 2007. There's just no reason for Arkansas. Like, people say, who's going to want this job? This is a fantastic job. This is the SEC. Chad Morris has at least proven you can recruit and bring players here. Bobby Petrino has proven you can win big time at Arkansas. I mean, if things don't go awry with Bobby Petrino, who knows what the future holds? But he had this thing rolling. Houston Nutt had it rolling for a while. And people can say things like, yeah, but they had Matt Jones or they had, Ryan Mallett. Well, everybody's got players. I hate that excuse when they're like, yeah, well, they had Darren McFadden. So Arkansas is deficient at every spot, but Darren McFadden and Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis. But, I mean, so I never liked that excuse that they had these certain players. Yes, you have to have dynamic players. Arkansas's got a guy. Some of the stuff that I loved hearing is like Rakeem Boyd. Okay, this is a prime example. This is why I wonder about like work harder versus work smarter. If there's like really a game plan, how can the game plan be to have Rakeem Boyd have 8 carries and 3 carries in the first half? And then you say stuff like, John Stephen let us down, so he came back out there when it was Rakeem Boyd who ran for 76 yards. And then the next series, they're on the field for like 16 minutes of actual time. I mean, like plenty of time to get Rakeem rested after a long run. And this is nothing against Devwall, but they came in with Devwall Whaley the next series. Why would you not? I mean, it's not like Rakeem needed to come out for a break there. They just had like a huge, long drive, converted a couple of 4th downs. So why is Rakeem not back in the game? He had 180-something yards on 8 carries. I mean, that kind of stuff just lets me show that it just shows me that there's just kind of a lack of awareness on who's out there, who your playmakers are. And early in the season, when we go out there, and you'd see them get into the red zone, and C.J. O'Grady would come out of the game, Trey Knox, Traylon Burks, Rakeem Boyd. No wonder they're the worst red zone team in the country with stuff like that. And these are things that I think people obviously saw. And those are things that were obvious. I know what everybody's saying. Has Chandler Morris decommitted? I mean, I don't want to decommit for anybody, but, I mean, great to put Barry Lunny as interim. I agree. Barry's a guy that, when you see a coaching change, usually there's carryover. And to be honest with you guys, there are some coaches on this staff are as bad as things have been, like a guy like Stepp and Lunny, Traylor. I mean, those guys would all be considered for me to carry on. And I even think Dustin Fry's had a little bit. I mean, Dustin Fry didn't have much of a leg to stand on, and I like Dustin a lot. But he's had so many injuries, he's almost, not had a choice. And, if anybody really took over a crummy situation, it was the job that Dustin Fry had to take over for Kurt Anderson. Because Kurt just was not – I don't know if he didn't get it or what, but he was just – didn't recruit very well, didn't coach very well. And a large part of that's on Bielema. I mean, there's a lot of the problems with this team that are on Bielema, but not this bad. I mean, it's not – And I'll say this also, if you look back at early in the season, this is just a strong indication of totally letting go of the rope for the second year in a row, is they actually fought and played some really good teams decent. Look at last year, Senior Day last year. I mean, LSU could have beat them by 2 touchdowns because they took a knee there at the end, but they ended up beating them by 1. But still, if it's 1 or 2, that shows some fight. That shows a team that is more than capable of competing, right? And then the next week they go out and lose 52-6 to Mississippi State and 38-0 to Missouri. Same stuff's happening this year. I mean, they get hammered. They lose that Kentucky game, which was a must-win game, which was right there. They should have won it. And then they come out and they get hammered by Auburn, hammered by Alabama, and they've totally quit at that point. They're done. And then Mississippi State, who has no business whipping them like they did, just came into Fayetteville and embarrassed them. And then the same thing happens against Western Kentucky. Just get hammered again by Conference USA team. They had no choice but to fire him. It's unfortunate it didn't work out. There's a lot of names that are being floated out. Mike Leach and Mike Norvell seem to be on everybody's list. Matt Campbell would be probably that would be in my opinion, like a home run. We've got a breakdown of all the guys that I think are possibilities for this coaching search. More names will come up, including a couple of guys, maybe a guy that was a D2 coach. Is that guy the answer? What they need is somebody, I'm not saying they need Ed Orgeron, but they need a guy who is a leader, okay, who just exudes leadership, who has that presence when he walks in the room. And Bielema had that early on. I think he kind of lost it a little bit there towards the end. But somebody when they walk into the room, and it doesn't have to be a giant. When Eric Musselman walks in the room, and that's a good comparison right now, because what I see in Musselman is a guy who wrapped his arms around this team and brought them all in. And these guys look like they fight for him, they respect him, they love him, he loves them. That just pours out. It's just pouring out of Musselman and this basketball team. Now, they're going to have their struggles in their first year, but I bet you they beat some teams they're not supposed to. If you consider Rice having their worst performance in 50 years or something, yeah, it was Rice. They were outmanned, but still, they just clobbered them in that opener. Find somebody like that. Again, that guy's probably 5'7", but he looks like the biggest man in the room when he walks in. That's what you need in a football coach, especially. A guy that walks in there with a chest, some confidence, part of the team, a guy that the players respect and love and fear. A guy who's shown that he's done it before. Look back in the past, look at his record, his resume. A guy that's not only not a guy that's taken over a program that's a winner, but a guy that's taken in and fixed something and maybe done it at a couple of places. Matt Rule at Baylor. That guy has the stones to walk into Baylor and rebuild that program. They went 1-11 his first year. Now they're undefeated. What are they, 9-0 now? Baylor, who you said a few years ago, this is a program that probably deserves a death penalty. If any program did. But he's doing huge things there after doing things at Temple the way he did. If he's got the guts to go into Baylor and do that, maybe he has the Arkansas, but he's, $4.4 million a year or something. He would cost. And Arkansas may have to buy their way out of it. And people have talked about money and stuff. Really, the only reasons that people have made to keep Chad Morris on is money. It's money or recruits. Don't want to lose recruits. It hasn't been anything about on the field. I want to remind you once more, everybody, 972 people on there. If you tell me that Razorback fans aren't passionate, that's evident right there. 972 people on here right now. Sign up for our 2 months for the price of one promotion. It's right here. There it is. 2 months for the price of one. Excuse me, not 2 months. I keep saying that. 2 months for $1. Even better. Even better than 2 months for the price of one, because that would be more expensive. So 2 months for $1, that's 50 cents a month. That's what it breaks down to, 1.6 cents a day. And we'll guide you along this process. We'll take you all the way up to the early national signing period, where you're going to get the best recruiting coverage available from Danny West. Danny does a fantastic job. And then on into February, we got basketball stuff going on, obviously. Some huge news with Moses Moody. Huge. I wasn't sure that Arkansas was going to get him, and definitely wasn't thinking Arkansas was going to get him before Musselman came. So, guy's innovative on the recruiting trail. The guys like him. That's what Arkansas needs in football, man. A guy who's got experience, innovative. Kevin Hamilton says Sam Pittman. I don't know about Sam Pittman for head coach right now, but I would not put it past Sam Pittman if he liked the situation at Arkansas to come back. I know he loves it here. His family is near here. Wayne Riggs says, P.J. Fleck, in your dreams. The time to hire P.J. Fleck was a few years ago. Same thing probably with Matt Campbell and probably with Rule. P.J. Fleck is 8-0 right now at Minnesota, just beat Penn State. Tamara Inman Bolding says, what about Urban Meyer? What about what about I win $1 million tomorrow? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see Urban Meyer end up somewhere else, like on the West Coast, like USC or something. Those saying Bobby Petrino, I mean, that's just not going to happen, people. It was a good time while it lasted. Skip Holtz, maybe not. I wonder why Skip hasn't elevated past the mid-major game when he's had success at all those levels. Brent Venables, that would be weird because Brent Venables and Chad Morris are friends. Les Miles, hey, I wouldn't be opposed to, Les Miles can fix a program. Play above themselves. If anybody is a strong indicator that you can come in here and set things right really quick, and not just set things right, but get them competitive again. Nobody's asking for a coach to come in here and get back to a bowl game next year. It's going to be tough with the schedule that they have. But a guy that can come in here and breathe some life, because they don't have any life in them. They've quit on this coaching staff. I mean, that's obvious. And hopefully this is a group that will rally around Barry Lunney, a guy who's a former Razorback player. I'm happy for Barry. I'm happy that he's the guy that gets the opportunity. I've always liked him, going back to his playing days, high school coaching days. I think he's a good guy, a good man. I think the players like him. I think that's somebody that they could at least rally around a little bit. But I don't want to hear anybody talking noise about Barry Lunney if this thing goes awry these last two games, because they got LSU, and you saw what LSU just did to Alabama on the road. It's a difficult situation for Barry Lunney to be in. How long are we going here, everybody? 28 minutes? That's pretty good. Sarkisian, it says Jimmy Jones. He's offensive coordinator at Alabama, former USC coach. All right, everybody. We've got a lot of suggestions. I want to thank everybody for being with us here. Again, 2 months right now for $1 at HawgSports. I'll post a link in the description so you know where to go for the details. But really, all you have to do is go hit join in the top right, select the monthly option, you'll get the deal. I mean, it's almost nothing to lose. Find out what we've got behind the scenes. If you like this podcast, if you like the walk and talk, if you like what I do on 1037 The Buzz, you like what Danny West delivers on Out of Bounds and on the podcast and on the Hog Hustle, if you like all those things, come see what we got behind the curtain with our VIP membership. I mean, we lay it all out on the line over there. There's a lot of good conversation on our Razor's Edge Premium Forum in addition to the recruiting content and the other VIP articles. Sign up right now, HawgSports.com. 24/7 Sports Network. Promise you'll be glad you did. Basically nothing to lose. I mean, $1 for 2 months. What's that, 61 days? I mean, you're not going to beat that. Always streaming on Facebook Live, hence the name HawgSports Live. Be sure to follow the page right now if you haven't done so you can get all of our free content. We just put our free content on Facebook Live, on Facebook channel. We just put our free content on there. Also sign up for our newsletter. So you get all our free content in your email. That's all the stuff that has happened, stuff that comes out of press conferences, press releases, and stuff like that. If you want to know what's going to happen, then you're going to need the VIP membership. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload a new video. Right now, we're the highest rated podcast on Apple Podcasts, and I think have the second most reviews. We're like the dozen behind the most reviews. So throw us a 5-star review. Get us up there. We want this show to pop up anytime people search for Arkansas Razorbacks. Be sure to share the content with somebody you think might like it. Also available Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, just about anywhere you find podcast. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Go sign up at HawgSports right now. Take a minute. Go do it. You'll be glad you did. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.